Hello and welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Groper, happy to be here as always. Today on the show, we'll talk about the current controversy surrounding the Israel Prize. We'll take a look at Albanian author Ismail Kadare's visit in Israel. And discuss Hollywood's beauty standards and how actresses try to keep up with them. We begin with the Israel Prize, the highest honor awarded in the country in the fields of arts and sciences. It is given by the Ministry of Education to individuals who have had a considerable contribution in their field. Recently, controversies about political interference in choosing the members of the award committees arose, bringing to light issues concerning Israel's political atmosphere and its art world. With me in the studio to discuss this is author and I-24 News correspondent Ayman Siksak. Ayman, great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It's totally our pleasure. So tell us a little bit, first in general, what happened? What's the controversies about?
Well, it's an unlikely story, a scandal in the literary world in Israel. It's a rather sleepy world in general, but this time around, a real scandal. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decided to oust one of the main judges in the Israel Prize for Literature. We're talking about Professor Ariel Hirschfeld, who's a very well-known and respected, highly regarded literary figure in Israel. Of course, a professor at the Hebrew University, and a judge at many such awards in the literary area. Now, Netanyahu's reasoning was that Hirschfeld has had a leftist agenda in choosing the recipients of the awards in the past, and for that reason, he decided to remove him and one other judge from the list of the committee. Following this move...
Right. Surprisingly enough, this did not go unnoticed by the press.
Not at all, and it didn't go unnoticed by the other judges in the committee either, who started just resigning one by one, and the story just started rolling on in the media, and the scandal goes on as we speak.
Right, and this is both for literary awards, film awards. There are several awards that this is affected, right?
Exactly, because these judges come from the general humanities field.
Right.
So we have Eva Iluz from Bezalel University and other very highly regarded judges in the art world. So it has a very significant effect on several fields.
Now, how come Prime Minister Netanyahu is even involved in the matter? Because this is supposed to be part of the Ministry of Education. Am I right?
Exactly. That's a great question, because this is really the base of this precarious situation. Shai Piron, who was previously the Minister of Education here in Israel.
From Yesh Atid.
From Yesh Atid. He was supposed to be in charge of selecting and approving the judges. But because Israel is headed to early elections, Shai Piron removed himself from the government, and Netanyahu manned this position, causing this controversy and taking lots of responsibilities which maybe Shai Piron would not have taken in his place.
And some liberties. Now he holds the education. He's actually the Minister of Education, and he's become a very active one.
And it's interesting that you say liberties, because part of what the judges who have removed themselves voluntarily from the list are saying is that this is limiting their liberty in choosing the recipients and in giving out the award.
Okay, but let's look at what Netanyahu is saying. Let's see if he has a case. Is it in fact become an award that some people with a left-wing agenda are handing out to their friends?
Well, I don't believe that they're handing it out to their friends, but we have to remember that in every award committee, of course, politics are involved. There's no way to really remove the art from the artist.
Right.
And I think
art is certainly political.
Exactly, especially in Israel, where so much of literature has to do with military experiences, war experiences, occupation, and so on.
So maybe Netanyahu has a point. I mean, maybe the agenda of the current government should be reflected in who receives the award.
Well, if he does have a point, then the judges have a point as well, because interestingly, they're making the same argument against Netanyahu. They're saying that he's politicizing the committee by removing the judges and bringing in his own agenda into the prize. So it's an interesting conflict that we see here. Both sides are saying we're against politicization, and what's happening is that the award is becoming increasingly politicized as a result.
Right. Now, we've seen this mix of politics and art in the past as well. Just this year, Suha Araf had a film that caused some controversy, right?
Exactly. Suha Araf won a significant grant from the State of Israel to produce and direct her film. Then she toured the world with the
Villa
film.
Tuma, I think.
And it received very high praises here in Israel and abroad. But when she toured with the film abroad, she refused to recognize it as an Israeli film. And this, of course, caused huge controversy in Israel.
Instead, she presented it as a Palestinian film.
She did, in fact, present it as a Palestinian film. And you know, this brings the question, I think, really refines the topic here of does money and national affiliation really determine the identity of the work of art? And in Suha Araf's case, it's become really, really poignant at this point.
Well, the Rabinovich Fund, actually the one who decides which films will get financed, actually now changed their rules, and in the future people will have to sign and agree that the film will be presented as an Israeli one as a result of this mess with Suha Araf this year.
And this just underlines the point of Israel's highly politically charged political atmosphere that's been increasing over the years, is really just dripping into certain areas of life which you would not expect to be affected by politics, but they are.
Can't
for better and
it.
for worse.
Can't escape it. Ayman, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, Oded.
All right, we're staying with literature. Famed Albanian author and poet Ismail Kadare was in Israel this week to receive the Jerusalem Prize at the International Book Fair, which took place in the city. At 79 years of age, Kadare has much to say about freedom, censorship, and the fate of Europe. He spoke to our reporter, David Gombi.
I read the writings of Kadare about Albania and I feel that he lives here. I read them and I feel that he is writing about our life.
It's Sunday, February the 8th, 8 p.m. in Jerusalem. The elite of the city are dressed up in elegant garbs. Every 2 years, the Jerusalem Prize for the Freedom of Individual and Society is awarded to authors distinguished for writing in defense of freedom. The award had been previously won by authors such as Arthur Jorge Semprún and Arthur Miller. This year the winner is Ismail Kadare.
And another quote, "The writer is the natural enemy of dictatorship." Here in Israel, unfortunately the only democracy in the Middle East, we share these values with you.
The award is given in the presence of foreign press. Some local journalists questioned the legitimacy of the municipality of Jerusalem to award a prize for freedom, while, as they believe, it violates the right of the Arab inhabitants of the city. But Kadare defends himself by saying a writer's role is not to judge. But the question of identity is always on his mind. We can feel it through his analysis of the Jewish and Albanian people.
The idea is that when people are in threat of disappearing, when you are people who are attacked, you instinctively empathize. I cannot compare the fate of the Jewish people with the Albanian, no. But the idea of the disappearance was a constant fear of the Albanian nation.
Born in 1936, Ismail Kadare has lived in the totalitarian communist Albania. In 1972, he was appointed a deputy and forced to join the party. Yet he never ceased to denounce the regime.
For example, ask the jury for which work did I receive the prize. What I have written without freedom? That is to say, I received this prize at the price of freedom for the books that I wrote during the non-freedom period.
In 1990, Kadare was threatened and so was therefore granted political asylum in France. Today, he goes back and forth between France and Tirana. Recently, after the attacks against Charlie Hebdo and the Hyper Cacher supermarket, he published his thoughts in Le Monde and restated his commitment to Europe.
It was a very sad event, but sometimes even sad events play a positive role. Negative, neutral, we'll see. But I hope it will change something. I hope.
One of the most feared effects of the attack is self-censorship. A dangerous phenomenon that the author has experienced under communism.
S'il y a une chose énigmatique dans le processus littéraire, c'est l'autocensure.
If there is an enigmatic thing in the literary process, it is self-censorship. You can't know where there is self-censorship. In totalitarian regimes, it was not the drama of the censorship of literature, but instead self-censorship that made it so dangerous.
La censure, c'est évident.
Kadare states his love of Europe. His country, Albania, is a candidate for the European Union. He calls it a natural family.
Nous, en Albanie, on aime beaucoup l'Europe.
We in Albania love Europe. We love it like you sometimes love something you lost, like a lost love. We lost Europe for 5 centuries, we and all the Balkans. Even if Europe is going to have troubles, we accept all its sides, happy or unhappy. This is our continent. There is no other continent.
Continent. Il n'y a pas l'autre continent pour nous. Nous sommes.
In a moment, we'll see how actresses try to keep up with Hollywood's beauty standards. But first, our cultural recommendation for the day.
Venezuelan salsa legend Oscar de Leon is headed to the 2015 Vina del Mar International Song Festival in Chile. The taxi driver turned musical icon is probably Venezuela's most famous internationally recognized musician, alongside Gustavo Dudamel. The icon will perform in South America's most famous music festival, considered a high-pressure event for those who perform there. Sometimes they might get booed by the harsh audiences. But for an experienced musician like De Leon, there is no reason for fear. A man of his stature is there to entertain and not to compete. He will even be performing duties as a judge in the music competition.
And now Shachar Peled is back with her segment, Off-Screen.
Dead Hollywood is a tough, tough place. I'm sorry to say it is.
And I guess I'll just stay here in Jaffa.
Yeah,
easy.
You should.
Solved. Problem solved.
Uma Thurman broke the internet this week when she appeared on the red carpet, almost unrecognizable, in the premiere party of her new miniseries, The Slap. Only 3 weeks earlier, the 44-year-old actress seemed herself, and suddenly she went all Renee Zellweger and...
Oh, really? This is 3 weeks apart?
Yes. Wow. And you see the puffy face, the tight smile. Something is not
wrong.
Quite right there, and this has become
I gotta
a
say,
sort
though,
of
could it be just bad makeup?
It could be a lot of things. There's so much speculation, but it has become what is considered a devastating phenomenon in Hollywood, and I have to say, isn't this quite an hypocrisy? The very same papers, websites, tabloids who are so much in shock by women's attempt in immortality are the very same ones who provide all these myths of youth and beauty. They provide all the information you need about plastic surgery, Botox procedures, chemical peels, and suddenly when this happens, everyone is just exploding surrounding it. They buy us into this madness, and then they say this thing. I want to say another point, because I see you're moving uncomfortably in your chair.
I totally agree. But on the other hand, the life of a Hollywood superstar is pretty swell, you know? So there are some downsides.
I want to argue this. Especially
Argue
for
away.
women over 40. In the subsequent years, I would say even in the past decade, maybe it's by choice or whether because of the realities of the market, but both Thurman and Zellweger have been working less and less. Now, a new study actually maybe explains why. In 2014, the study shows women were severely underrepresented as protagonists. Only 12% of the top 100 grossing films in Hollywood had female lead characters. That's a 3-point decline from 2013, which wasn't that a good year for women in its own right. Now, the actresses who did land leading roles were much younger than their male counterparts, and this is something that we have to say. And as Time magazine puts it, looking at the shortage of roles available to women and actresses over 40 is much less fun than speculating about surgery and makeup, and this is the reality that we're all shoved into. Will comebacks ever be accepted and approved again in the public eye for women who we don't see on yearly or monthly basis in the case of Meryl Streep. If we take Meryl Streep and we look and we see her aging year by year, but when suddenly Meg Ryan appears out of the blue, everyone is very much in shock.
You know, because Meg Ryan did such a well, I don't want to name names. I mean, I don't want to call her names, but she did things to her face that Meryl Streep did not, or Frances McDormand did not. Or,
maybe because we haven't seen her in such a while, this is something that society or Hollywood. But you see Julianne Moore every year. This is an actress that you see daily, and if someone wants to come back with a comeback, I want to, for example, quote Julia Roberts.
Quickly.
After the Renee affair, she gave an interview saying that for older women in Hollywood, not getting a plastic surgery touch-up is a big risk. And this is something that we look at Uma Thurman, we say she's ridiculous, but maybe it's us.
Well.
Yes.
I'm certainly ridiculous. Thank you, Shahar.
Thank you, Odette.
Thank you at home for joining us. We'll be back next week, so be sure to join us then as well.